Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here with Paul from Rhachouse, and well, tell us a little bit. You got a little bit of everything here. Why don't you tell us about it a little bit?
Well, we got all the new, not all of them, quite a few of the new Caledonians, gargoyles, cresteds, Chihuahua, Leachianus, and today I've got some Vivaya, which you don't typically see very often. Here, you know what? Let's take one of those guys out of there.
Oh, those are nice. So what got you started in working with the new Caledonian species?
I started this when, way back in the day, I was an East Coast representative for Sandfire Dragon Ranch, Bob Mayer. And if you're familiar with those old days back then, he and Alan Rapace became partners in the late 90s. So that's how I was exposed to these. Alan became part of the team and started selling. I started selling. I wasn't breeding these at that time, but selling with them and keeping them and working with them. And it snowballed from there. I fell in love with these over the dragons.
Yeah. Well, that's what's cool about something like gargoyle geckos. Like gargoyle geckos, to me, like they're kind of a cross between, like, you know, as far as keeping like crested geckos and bearded dragons. You kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I use the analogy of bearded dragons for gargoyles a lot because the temperament and the personality, the fact that gargoyles, and in my opinion, gargoyles and bearded dragons are actually pets, right? I mean, they're pets that reptile pets that you have a relationship with, and they become part of the family much more than, you know, maybe say some of the other reptiles. Yeah, in that aspect, I don't think the gargoyles can be touched. Their confidence sets them apart.
Yeah, they're super good pets. So let's talk about like the ease of care of these, because I feel like sometimes people get a little intimidated whenever they look at an animal. And I mean, honestly, I feel like if you just do a little bit of research, you can set these things up
absolutely
easily for success.
Absolutely. I don't think, 100% honesty, I don't think there's a reptile that's easier to care for. I mean, maybe some of the ball python, maybe some of the snakes, corn snakes, stuff like that, but definitely not in the gecko or lizard world. These are absolutely easiest animals to care for. The hardest thing nationwide is maintaining humidity.
Yeah.
You know, if where I'm at in Florida, humidity is not quite an issue, but anywhere in the northern United States, yeah, humidity is going to be the hardest thing in taking care of these guys.
So for me personally, what I like about like crested geckos and other new Caledonian geckos is you can set up a very, very nice bioactive terrarium with them and almost have like another part of the world inside your house.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
And they thrive in those environments. Let's talk a little bit about these Chihuahuas.
Okay.
You know, I think a lot of people are sleeping on how awesome Chihuahuas are to keep as pets.
Definitely.
Look at them; they're just beautiful, and they've got that puppy dog.
They are. They're confident like the Chihuahua. Like I was telling you before, I think they're confident like the Chihuahua. But I mean, like the gargoyles, but they're gentle like the cresteds. My experience, in talking to other people, I've heard some people say that they've had, you know, aggressive Chihuahua. Personally, I've never experienced that. Honestly, I can't even say I've ever been bitten by my Chihuahua.
No,
I've had them, you know, when I'm changing out the food dish or something like that, I've had them, you know, go for me, but never make contact and actually bite me. The closest I've gotten to a bite with a Chihuahua is a female protecting her eggs, and you know, I can't blame her for that.
So if you were going to sell, you know, a new Caledonian gecko to a new keeper today, what is the best advice you could give them?
Humidity. From me, in my experience, I would argue that humidity is the single most important aspect of care. The way that I see it, I think all the new Caledonian animals, because humidity in New Caledonia is an annual average is like 75%, and you take into consideration all the new Caledonian geckos, their skin is unique among geckos. Their skin is really thin and absorbent. That's why we don't want to keep them on wet surfaces.
Yeah.
In my mind, what they're doing, their skin is working like an amphibian or a frog, or, you know, they're absorbing the bulk of their body moisture from the air. Right. Yeah. So that humidity in the air for these guys, in my mind, is the #1 most important. The biggest complaint I see with new keepers and new Caledonian geckos across the board whether it be gargoyles, crested, or chihuahua, they first get it, and the biggest complaint is that it's not eating. It won't eat. It won't eat. And almost in every situation, if there's somebody that's dealing with me, my first question is, what's your humidity? The humidity is low. And so I use the analogy, well, if I put you in the Sahara Desert, after several hours, you're going to have difficulty smelling and tasting when you start to dry out.
Yeah.
These animals are no different. If they're kept at a humidity that is not sufficient, their sense of smell and their sense of taste is compromised, and they don't eat as well. Every time I see that, I tell people, bump up your humidity, and it all goes away.
Awesome. Well, hey, Paul, I appreciate you. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.